welcome back to another Spurs chat video. The full-time whistle has just gone. Newcastle United 2, Tottenham Hotspur 2. A truly disappointing afternoon, as all of us Tottenham fans had hoped that we would be back in the top four this evening. Harry Kane, of course, got Tottenham's 2 goals, and Joe Linton and Willock got Newcastle's goals. Melvyn, let's come to you first for your initial thoughts on the game.
Should we all be surprised anyway? This happened way too many times this season. You know, I saw it coming at the 2-1. You know, when Kane hit that post, it should have been game over. But it's been like this all season. How many times has this happened to us this season? It's not funny anymore, is it? It's just, you know, the first few times you kind of accept it, but you know, if it keeps happening time and time again, you know, the defense keeps slipping up, and it's just not funny anymore, is it?
Not at all. Not at all, Melvyn. Josh, welcome back to the channel. Let's come to you for your initial thoughts on today's draw.
Well, I totally agree with Simon here. We completely threw away 2 points. And yeah, Melvyn, honestly, it's not funny anymore. It's becoming a bit of a joke, really. Even though it's a bit of an ironic thing to say. But it's just annoying now. Like, this just keeps happening. We can't see out games. We literally can't see out games. And when you bring Jose Mourinho into your club, the one thing he's supposed to do is sort out your defence. And our defence is just all over the place. But I wouldn't change that. I wouldn't change that back four. I don't think there's a better back four at the moment at this club. Maybe you could bring Toby in, but we all wanted Rodon and Sanchez to start after their performance against Villa, and they just made a bit of a hash of it today. But yeah, 2 points thrown away, and every time we try and get in the top four, we throw it away. It's happened time and time again this season, and there's no point getting your hopes up anymore, which is sad.
Craig, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for coming on. I was going to say, after we've lost, it feels like to me like we've lost today. I feel very down about it. How are you feeling?
Yeah, really frustrated again. You know, again against Newcastle, one of the poorest teams in the league. Let me just say, if Joe Linton was an actual footballer, we would have lost that game because he had a few chances. Let's not kid ourselves. Newcastle probably deserved that draw, and you could argue if they could finish that, that could have been a bit of a disaster up there today. Defence was appalling today. All of them, even Reguilon, I'd stick him with that. He didn't jump for their equaliser. I don't know what he was doing. Rodon was the best one of the 4, to be honest. Sanchez, just appalling. I don't think Tanganga had a good game. Yeah. And it's just, I think Josh, not only that, you just get your hopes up. I was confident we'd get top 4 today, Chris. All your videos this week I've been watching, I agreed. I was quite confident before the game. Yeah. I thought we'd win 2-0 or 3-1 or something like that. I thought they would score, to be honest. But, you know, I thought we'd win the game. I thought we'd quite easily win the game. And, you know, they've let us down again. They had the chance to go top 4 again, and they've blown it. I don't know about bottling it. I don't know if that's the right word. I'm kind of out of cliches to describe this team because I'm just fuming with it. And as I said to you before the video started, what must Harry Kane be thinking? To be honest, if I was Daniel Levy, I'd be offering him. I'd say, look, name your price. We need you, mate. I'll give you what you want, but we need you. I can't say much else, Chris, because it was that again. I'm sure I speak for all Spurs fans when I say that is just the most frustrating thing about this season is throwing away point after point after point and not being able to see games out. And, you know, if that was Man City in the Cup today, by the way, we'd have got our arses handed to us. And that's all I can say about it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Craig, there. You know, so frustrating in the fact that we have thrown so many points away this season and not put games to bed. Melvyn, let's come back to you. Roy Price, you know, super chat here. Many thanks for your super chat, Roy. This is annoying. We failed yet again to take advantage. Melvyn, what is it about Tottenham Hotspur Football Club? Because it's not just this season, like Craig, you know, said about it being frustrating. You know, the amount of times I've said over the years, you know, before a game, oh, if we win today, we can go second. If we win today, we'll go in the top 4. If we win today, we'll do this, we'll do that. And then we always seem to, you know, not deliver. What is it with Tottenham Hotspur's mentality of not seeing games out and putting games to bed and getting that top 4 spot? Because, you know, yet another chance, you know, in this very up and down, very weird and odd season, you know, we had a glorious chance to be back in the top 4 this evening. And as I said earlier, it feels like a defeat to me. You know, we've just thrown the game away. and gifted Newcastle United a point. What is it with this Spurs side?
I don't know. I don't think that midfield is good enough in the later stages of every game. It just seems that teams walk through us way too easily. You know, Højbjerg alone, I think he played 2 games for Denmark, and he's not missed many games this season, and he's looking a bit tired. And there's not enough bite in that team, not enough defensive, you know, that physical player with Gio and in Ndombele. I don't know. Teams walk through us way too easily, which creates all sorts of problems for defense. And it's been like this all season. You know, we talk about defensive partnerships, and we don't even have a midfield partnership, a midfield two that's been consistent all season. You know, we talk about the defensive two. What about the midfield two or the midfield three? You know, every single game, there's a new formation or new player in a different position. You know, with Pochettino, I hate going back, but we have to compare ourselves to that team. We always knew the lineup, and we always, if someone switched with someone else, we always knew what position or what role that player was going to play. With this Mourinho team, with Jose, it just seems to me either the team doesn't know, or they're not well trained and well practiced to keep the same formation or the same position or the same role. Just seems to me, who was supposed to be this defensive? Was it Lo Celso or Ndombele? Because Højbjerg was alone, and he can't contain the whole midfield of Newcastle, and they were walking through us. Seems Tanganga, you know, I like Japhet Tanganga. He's a great player, a great young player, but from the right-hand side, how many times this season we conceded from, you know, crosses? You know, it's just an easy way to score against us, and teams know that now, and they've known that for all season. You know, Tottenham 2-1, it's not game over, and they keep pressing us and push us, and we keep crumbling all season. It's heartbreaking, but it's something that I expected at 2-1. I was telling my brother who was next to me, I'm like, this is not over. They're going to score. They're going to score. The longer the game went, the more confident I knew we were going to concede. Because that's what happens. This team, it has some leaders and some characters in the team, but it's not enough. You need to have so many talented and you need to be at your game 100%. You know, all season to get into that top 4, and we've not been nowhere near that this season. And I don't know if you're going to get to this, but I don't think we will get top 4 this season. I think it was a shot this season. It was going to be, you know, mission impossible. We had to win probably 8 out of 9 or something like that to get into top 4. But now, you know, Newcastle, it was probably one of our easiest matches, you know, against someone in the relegation zone, someone not playing very, very well, and we drop points. And now it's an uphill battle.
We will come on to it. And of course, Craig said earlier that, you know, Newcastle had a number of chances. I completely agree. They had more than enough chances to win the game. And, you know, if you were a Newcastle fan today, you would feel like you deserve something out of the game. And I'm not disputing that whatsoever. Newcastle did deserve something out of the game. And that's what pains me to say it. Josh, let's come to you. Now, the starting lineup, Melvyn says about lots of swapping and changing. But for once, Jose Mourinho actually kept the same team as the game against Aston Villa when we beat them 2-0 a couple of weeks ago. Hugo Lloris, Tanganga, Sanchez, Rodon, Reguilon, Højbjerg, Lo Celso, Ndombele, Lucas, Kane and Vinicius. When that team lineup come out, how did you feel?
I was really, really happy with the lineup, actually. I texted my mate and said, you know what, that team did really well against Villa. I thought they put in a good shift against Villa, especially like Vinicius, and then they turn up and they just don't get going. But let's keep off the criticism for a bit for Tottenham, and that's, like you said, Chris, let's just give a bit of praise to Newcastle, because I think Newcastle played us off the park today, and they're in a relegation battle. And if you were an alien and you came down from space and you knew nothing about football, and you said, one of these teams is fighting to get in the top 4, and the other one is fighting to stay in the Premier League, you would have said that Newcastle were the team that were fighting to get in the top 4, because they played us off the park. In my opinion, I thought we just didn't get going. They were ripping us apart down both wings. Reguilon was having an absolute nightmare containing Jacob Murphy. Tanganga didn't have a very good game. I thought Newcastle genuinely deserved the point, and we threw it away because I think there was a stat that came up at some time in the second half where they'd had 15 chances and we'd had 4 in the whole after an hour. Like, what's going on? They're 17th in the league and we're fighting for top 4. You're not going to get top 4 if you're getting battered by a team like Newcastle. So we can complain about all the players, but I was happy with the team, and I think there's more than enough talent in that team, and there's enough leaders in that team as well. We've got World Cup winning captain in Lloris. You've got Harry Kane, best striker in the world. You've got experienced players like Lucas Moura and others. But I don't think our defence is good enough to be in the top 4. Our attack is probably one of the best in the league. Like, Harry Kane's the best striker in the world, in my opinion. But I think what's letting us down is the defence and the midfield and the transition between both of them, as Melvyn said.
Craig, let's come on to you. Gary Paul Speed writes a super chat here on the screen. All errors and mistakes at the back. Goals, Sanchez needs to go. We've said it, many times on this channel throughout this season. Davinson Sanchez, I can't really go away from it. I hate, slating players individually on this channel. It's not really my thing to do. But there are so many comments coming in today about Davinson Sanchez. What does Jose Mourinho do going forward? We've got 8 Premier League games left. We've got the Cup final as well. It worries me as a Spurs fan. And you rightly said earlier on about if Newcastle, took their chances, they could have got quite a few goals today.
Yeah, I don't know. Mourinho must be pulling his hair out, to be honest, because if that's our best centre-back pairing, and I do leave Rodon out there, I still think I'll give Joe Rodon a bit of slack, to be honest with you, because I thought he was trying to cover Sanchez on a number of occasions today. And you can't do 2 jobs back there. I've been Sanchez's biggest critic on occasion this season, and I thought the last couple of games he'd done okay. But again, he's shown today why he's just not good enough for Tottenham, in my opinion. He's had chances. He's had loads of chances. It's just time to say goodbye. If we can get, in my opinion, if we get money for him, we should get rid in the summer. A lot, and I'm sure we'll come on to what other players we'd want rid of and that are not good enough for this team. But he's definitely one of them that's got to go, in my opinion, and replaced with a leader at the back. Do we need a John Terry type centre back? To be honest, because you need a leader back there, and we just don't seem to have a leader. I think Joe Rodon's got potential for that, but at the moment he's still a young lad. We need a proven centre-back leader at the back there to marshal that defence, because our team gets progressively worse the further you get back. If you start at the front line, it gets progressively worse. And as far as creating chances, I'll come back to it again. In my opinion, we've never replaced Christian Eriksen.
Yeah.
And Harry Kane, they say he does 2 jobs. He shouldn't have to do 2 jobs, but I want Harry Kane up top, scoring goals, doing what he does best. I don't care how many he creates. I want to see him scoring goals and winning us games. That's his job. We've never replaced Christian Eriksen. I've said it again, and again. We need to replace Christian Eriksen. And
we replaced him with Kane.
Yeah, exactly. You're having Harry Kane do 2 jobs, and then when Kane's out injured, what happens? I want Kane. He's our centre forward. I want him scoring goals. Yes, you're going to create a few chances. Of course you are. He doesn't need to be dropping dead. He's doing 2 jobs. We lose him. We almost have to replace two free players to replace Harry Kane. We need a creative midfielder as well, and we just haven't got one as good as Eriksen was, in my opinion. When he was good, of course, because he wasn't there the last 6 months really. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is other than that, Chris. We need to clear out in the summer, and very quick. You've got to help us in the cup final if we play like that, by the way.
Well, Craig, I know we're talking about next season and the summer transfer window, but of course we do have these 8 Premier League games left to try and secure us, a European spot, whether it be a Champions League spot or Europa League spot for next season. Gary writes another comment for you, Craig, saying that we have no chance of top 4 with Davinson Sanchez in the team. He is a liability at the back, and we're just not good enough costing goals. Where was Toby Alderweireld? The centre-back pairing should be Toby Alderweireld and Joe Rodon, and keep Javat Tanganga at right back until the end of the season. Would you go along with that?
I would certainly go along with Rodon and Alderweireld. That would seem the most sensible, an old head and a young lad learning with a bit of pace. Personally, I still think I'd give Aurier a look at for the next couple of games at right back, because I don't know. I think Tanganga was out of position a couple of times today, but then again, he's not a right back, is he? He's a centre back. That's where he's learned his trade. So you've got to bring that into account. Out of the two, I'd certainly get. Aurier had been playing well, and again, I'm one of his biggest critics. But I think he's had some good games this season. You're going to get an Aurier moment at least once a game. But I think you have to go with what you've got. And, Tanganga didn't set the world alight today. He didn't have an awful game, I didn't think, but I've seen him have better games. But next game, I think you have got to go with Alderweireld and Rodon, to be honest, certainly centre-back, and see how we get on. Who's the next league game, Chris? Is it Manchester United, isn't it? Yeah, God. It's going to be a few discussions this week, I think, about how the best way to approach that game.
We scored 6 against them.
We know they've got excellent attacking players and they can finish, and that is a real worry, because, like you said, Craig, if Newcastle finished off their chances today, they'd have scored quite a few goals. Melvyn, let's come to you. Rob Smith, with a super chat comment on screen now. Jose out, terrible negative football. The fans have been very split so far this season. Lots of people are Jose in, Jose out. How are you feeling about it?
I don't know about Jose. I like the manager. I feel bad for him because I don't think we have the right players at the club right now. You mentioned before that we haven't replaced Eriksen, we haven't replaced Dembele. There's a whole list of players, Craig, that we haven't replaced. We haven't really replaced Kyle Walker. I think we replaced Danny Rose with Reguilon. That's probably one of the best signings we've made this season. We replaced, we haven't replaced many players that we've needed for a long time. When was the last signing that we really made that made such a massive impact in the team? We haven't really had one in such a long time. Højbjerg was very, very needed, but there's still holes in this club, and there's still holes in that midfield and in this defense, and it's gonna take time, sadly, to fix these holes. My biggest fear is by the time we fix these problems, players like Harry Kane and Son just don't believe in the project anymore and want to move on. And there's lots of players that, for me, that don't defend well enough, don't attack well enough. So what do you really contribute to this team? Players like, for me, Lamela, maybe Harry Winks, Sissoko doesn't give you enough goals and assists, things like that. We bought Steven Bergwijn and not really, he's still a very young player and he's not really contributed much or anything this season. We have too many of these players, and we can't afford to have players like these in the team. We have to replace them with players who can defend and can attack, and you can rely on them for 90 minutes, not for 65 minutes. It's sometimes laughable. A club like Tottenham, we had to play Ndombele for 60 minutes, and we have to play Gareth Bale for 45 because they can't play a full 90. We're struggling with players who can't even play for 90 minutes. How can we finish in the top 4? Yeah. The game is such fine margins. We need to have, athletes who can play for 90 minutes and can last till the 90th minute. Why do you think we keep conceding in the 90th minute? I don't think the players are fit enough to play for 90 minutes. They need to run. Remember under the Pochettino era when players, he worked them so hard and we scored so many late goals. It's probably because our team was so fit and they worked so hard that, the other teams were exhausted and they couldn't compete with us on a physical level. And we just don't have that this season. It happens time and time again. And I don't agree with blaming it on one player, because we keep doing this whole song and dance all season. We blame one player and then he's out the team for a couple of months. We did it to Eric Dyer. First, Eric Dyer was our savior. He was the best center back. And then we realized he's no good. And then we trusted Toby and Sanchez, and or Sergio Aurier was the best preferred right back. And then it was Doherty. We can't keep doing this all season. If one player make a mistake, we blame it on him, and then it's just, I don't know going forward what we're gonna do or where we are as a club and what's realistic for us. There's so many unanswered questions, and if we don't get to the Champions League, what our transfer budget's gonna be like. I think moving on, he has to stick, to our best 11, and we'll see how many points he can get, and we need a couple of Mourinho master classes, but it just doesn't seem like any of that's coming off right now. We have good individual players that don't work well together right now, I think.
Yeah. Josh, let's come to you. There's a super chat here, but for whatever I'm doing, I can't seem to get it on screen. It's from Charlie Barrett, and they say, big up Josh, deserves a better club. Fingers. What's all that about?
It's just Charlie. But yeah, it's painful being a Tottenham fan. It's happened for so long. It just like bottoming it and losing these type of games, dropping points in these type of games. And as Melvyn said, going back to the past, under Poch, it kind of happened in the big games, didn't it? We'd always just get nudged by a Mourinho, Chelsea or Man United side 1-0, or we'd go and lose a cup final or a semi-final. But now it seems to happen against these lower teams like Newcastle. It's happened all season to Crystal Palace, to Wolves, where we just concede these late goals or equalisers. It's just painful, and I don't understand. I can't put a finger on it. You can't really just say it's all Jose's fault, because the players genuinely just didn't. It looked like they just didn't really turn up today. There was no intensity. There wasn't defensive tactics. I mean, you could blame Jose if he set up a low block, which would just be painful to watch. And we didn't play a low block today. They just didn't put in the effort, didn't make the right decisions, didn't actually. And one thing that I noticed quite a lot is that players are hogging the ball and taking far too many touches. Someone like Ndombele today. Usually he's like receives the ball, turns quickly, release the ball, and we're off. I remember if you take your mind right back to the Southampton game, there was a goal that we scored where Ndombele did like a really good skill where he I can't remember what it was. It was like a little Berber spin in the middle of the pitch, and he played through Son or Kane, and we got a goal straight away. It was that quickly. Now he takes like 7 or 8 touches. The whole of the midfield is taking like 7 or 8 touches and then standing still. There's no attacking intensity, and you can't blame that on Jose, because we're not playing defensively. They're just not. The players on the pitch just aren't making the right decisions, which is painful, because I think they're talented. They're clearly talented, but they're just not putting in the effort, and I don't know why they're not doing it. Because I said to my dad next to me watching the game, I was like, there's enough talent to absolutely wallop Newcastle. We should be going up there and winning 3-0, 3-1, winning by quite a convincing margin. But it just seems like they just can't be bothered to put the game to bed. It doesn't make any sense.
Why though, Josh? How can you not have any intensity in a game, particularly after the team would have watched West Bromwich Albion score 5 at Stamford Bridge yesterday, knowing that we could go back into the top 4, knowing that we could have, possibly a Champions League place for next season? Like I said at the start, it feels like a defeat to me. It feels like another dreadful day in the life of a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Why no intensity for you, in this match when there is so much at stake?
I honestly just think that I don't think they can be asked. And I don't know if that's because they don't believe in Mourinho anymore, because that could be a viable reason. He might have lost the dressing room. But they just looked, especially in the first half, they just looked like they couldn't really be bothered. And then Newcastle go and score, and suddenly, for 30 seconds, they turn up and go and score. And they literally turned up for 30 seconds, and they looked like Tottenham for 30 seconds. But then they went back. They reverted to playing really, really slow, taking loads of touches, passing backwards, using the safe option, players making the same mistake. Like Sanchez made the continuous mistake of heading the ball, and it just every time it went to a Newcastle player. He was heading the ball out, clearing the ball, and it just fell to a Newcastle player. He did it about 5 or 6 times. So I don't know. It's far too often, and we do need a big clear out, as Melvyn said. And it's a strange future. I think we've got a strange couple of months and years ahead as Tottenham fans, because I have no idea what's going to happen.
Craig, let's come round to you. Colin writes a super chat comment. Thank you very much for your comment, Colin. We need to keep the ball in midfield to keep pressure of the defence. No press always leads to mistakes at the back. We have to keep the ball. Do you think the midfield are doing enough to protect the defence?
No, they're not. To be honest, I watched a rerun on Sky. It just happened to be on the Battle at the Bridge, from 2016, I think it was. Watched that yesterday or day before. And I'll tell you what it was only watching that I realised how much we've changed as a team, not just personnel, but the way we play. The pressing, the fast pressing, even the nastiness. All right, a few players lost their heads in that game, but you had Walker going through people on the right hand side. You had Danny Rose going through people on the left, just looking angry. Do you know what I mean? Like they wanted it. Admittedly, we went about that game a little bit the wrong way, but we were 2-0 up, don't forget. And it was the pressing, the high press. I thought, God, yeah, I remember this. That high press, winning the ball, seeing Alderweireld and Vertonghen. I thought, with Rose and Walker, what a back four that is, And I thought, oh, God, we didn't appreciate it when we had it. I think it was like, that is going to be Tottenham from now and forever. And, of course, it isn't. And the midfield, you say about the pressing in the midfield. Dembele, what a miss he is. We've said it before on here. Say it again. Players like that, but the pressing to win the ball higher up the pitch, to take the pressure off the defence, and that midfield didn't do it today. Lo Celso lost the ball a couple of times, and when Lamela come on, and it's such a Lamela thing. I don't know if anybody noticed. He was going through just to the left-hand side of the penalty area. All he had to do was slip and Ndombele in. Yeah. And he would have had a clear shot at goal. And then Ndombele actually threw his arms in the air, and he didn't even see him, didn't look, no vision at all, and he fell over. And I don't know if they actually. Oh, is that all right? Can you still hear me? I don't know what happened there. Yeah. Sorry. I think he just fell over, and they got possession back. All he needed to do was slip and Ndombele in.
Yeah.
Just not good enough. Just not good enough. And. These are the players that had a reasonable game at Villa, don't forget. And we wanted to see that team, and they just didn't turn up, did they, today? So frustrating.
Melvyn, let's come to you. A comment on screen now from Chris, who writes, happy with the point. Do you feel happy with the point?
No, I don't know. I'm never really happy with a point, even though we haven't been playing at our best. It's just been a really weird season. We started off fairly decent, and just went really poorly all of a sudden, and you just can't put your finger on it. We played attacking football, sometimes defensive football, sometimes it just seems, we've not really been consistent at all this season. We haven't had, a really consistent run of games where you say, the moment we had consistency and we pulled some results, we never really, pushed forward. It just, collapsed all of a sudden, and you don't really know where to go from it, because if Jose played the best 11, I think he would have played people like Toby and probably played Ndombele and possibly Sissoko and played a really defensive team and, tried to grind a 1-0. But I don't know, players like the young players and the players that are tied to the club for a long period of time, I think he's playing them, for the future and not to get the results. Player like Tanganga and Rodon, they're ones for the future. Because if it was me, I'd play, for the victory and try to play maybe a bit more defensive and try to shore up the defense like we did earlier in the season after that West Ham game where we conceded 3, after going 3-0 up. If we played it maybe a bit more defensive and a bit more pragmatic against these sides, maybe we could won 1-0 or played more on the counter attack. It's hard. It's difficult to really know what the right call is until the game is over. We all look at the lineup, and we're all every single time I look at the lineup when it starts, I'm happy with the lineup. But then when we start playing, I immediately go, no, something's wrong here. He shouldn't have played him. He shouldn't have played him. But as Spurs fans, when we see the lineup, we all go, yeah, that's smart. That's probably the best thing he could have done. But then all of a sudden the game starts, and we look at the team and we look at the way we're playing, and we think, no, something's wrong here. It's not working. I liked how Vinicius and Kane were playing together. I think it freed up Kane, but it just having four midfielders, they were walking through us. The balance is not quite there yet, and I don't think we have the right personnel to fix it this season. And it's scary for the Manchester City, for the final. It scares me because I don't have any confidence going into that game, and I don't know what tactic Jose is going to do. Is he going to, will we be happy if he goes, an extremely defensive and a counter-attacking low block? Because that's probably the only thing that's going to, get us a victory if we go extremely, extremely negative and defend for our lives. But then, there's some fans that think you have to attack. It's been a strange season, and it's worrying. You don't know where we are as a club and how we're gonna get forward, how we're gonna grow.
Melvyn, at the moment, Melvyn, I think if we go with a low block at the moment, that just means we lose by less goals in the final. If I'm honest, you know. So I know that sounds terrible, and I hate saying it about my club, but that's the reality. Did you see De Bruyne yesterday? I mean, Christ! Imagine Harry Winks on De Bruyne.
I think we have to accept. Do we play? The younger players, the ones that are going to be here, for a longer time at the club. Not like players like Toby, who's experienced and doesn't have, much left in him. I think Rodon is one for the future, and we accept these mistakes from these guys. I accept mistakes from Tanganga, but I don't accept mistakes from Serge Aurier, who's much more experienced. But I know Jeffet is only, a young lad, and he's learning his trade. And, you can see he's one for the future. So if he plays these young guys, I accept it. And if they make a mistake, I'll accept it. But if he plays the more experienced guys and they know what requires to win, that's when you really don't accept it. But what's he going to do? Is he going to do one or the other? And I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult to accept and to know where we are as a club. Are we moving in the right direction? And I think right now is just we don't know. We need transfers. That's the only thing that's going to put us in the right direction.
Yeah, difficult to take, certainly, Melvyn. Josh, let's come to you. Colin writes another super chat, so thank you very much, Colin. Lamela should have played in Heung-min Son instead of playing in Harry Kane when he hit the post. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I saw that one. There was quite a few opportunities in the second half where we just weren't making the right end decisions. The last minute decisions were just not there. It's a shame, really. We could have put that game to bed. It's unlucky from Kane to hit the post there, and that would have put the game to bed at 3-1, even if we conceded a goal from that Arsenal loanee, Joe Willock. That just makes it even more sour. Because when he came on, I said to Dad, sitting next to me, I was like, he's going to score because he's from Arsenal. And that's what it seems to always happen. It's like Gnabry in that 7-2 game at White Hart Lane against Bayern Munich. And Gnabry was playing for Bayern Munich. He just come from Arsenal. And then he scores 4 past us. We seem to always let ex-Arsenal players score against us, which is a shame. But I mean, it is a nightmare as a Tottenham fan. We have sadly we've gone downhill. I think we've all got to admit that we've gone downhill. There was Simon, but we have as a team we've gone downhill since 2016. 2016, I looked at a graph showing our league position has just dropped off every year, just gone down one place. And it's not the best time to be a Spurs fan, but we've got to get through this, and we've got to remember. I haven't even looked at the table, but I think we're 5th. Are we? We're 5th, and there's still 8 games to go. We could still pull some results out, and especially if other teams are struggling, like West Brom, they absolutely battered Chelsea. That was totally unexpected, and obviously Leicester lost the 2. So there are some other teams around us. That are dropping points. That would have been a really sour one today if Chelsea had won, and if the other teams around us also had won, and we'd be the only team that dropped points. But we've got to we've just got to put it behind us, because there's no point moaning. It's happened so many times. we've just got to move forward and put it behind us and just try and keep positive. And as Melvyn said it in the final, outsiders in finals always seems to do quite well. So we're going to go into that final with no pressure on our shoulders. Man City are totally expected to win that game because they just the way they're playing, they're top of the league. They've got so many advantages in that game. We're underdogs, and the underdogs can sometimes get a result. And I don't think you can tell what's going to happen in a cup final, because I'm sure we might be able to get a result in that game. Can't predict that at all. But I just wanted to add one thing before we move on. Obviously, not everyone watching is an England fan, but watching England in the international break, we seem to be playing very similar to Tottenham in some of the games. Very slow, very just like no intensity, no creativity. And I just thought, what has happened to English football in the past couple of years? A lot of the teams should seem very negative, very like passing sideways. Teams have obviously and players have obviously been coached by the FA from a young age to make safe to pass the safe options, to not take any risks, especially in one of the England under-21 games when the lads lost. I think Oliver Skipp played and Tanganga played from Spurs and Ryan Sessegnon as well. In that game, they were completely outplayed by Portuguese lads who were taking risks and playing attacking football. And the England lads were playing exactly like Tottenham do, with no intensity, with passing sideways, just not high pressing like we did under Poch. So it's very odd. Football's become quite not very enjoyable in the past year or two. It's very strange, and I hope we turn a corner. I really do hope we turn a corner.
Craig, let's come to you. Jenny from the Fox writes here on screen: we are 5th and we're in a League Cup final. If I was to have asked you at the start of the season, the opening day of the Premier League season, on Easter Sunday, Tottenham Hotspur will be 5th, will be 2 points from top 4, and we will be in a League Cup final, how would you have felt?
That's a really good question, actually. That's a really good question. Realistically, I probably would have said, yeah, I'd be happy with that. But we've seen how the season's gone and exactly how we've got to now. And I think that's the most important thing, is how we've got to where we are. How we performed in the North London derby, and then how we went out of Europe. How we lost the FA Cup, where we were for 5 weeks in December. The chances we've had, the games we've lost. We've dropped 2 points right at the end of games. I mean, we've dropped 4 points against Newcastle in the last 2 or 3 minutes, haven't we? Yeah. Let's face it. We've got the West Ham game where we threw that away. Oddly enough, mirrored today in many ways, because Gareth Bale sort of slipped that one wide when I can't believe he didn't score. And today Harry Kane hits the post, and of course they go up the other end and score. So funny comparisons there. But yeah, I probably would. If we don't know what we know now, and you'd said that to me, I would probably been quite happy with that, realistically. But then again, there's probably a part of me that would hope we should have been in a higher league position anyway. 2nd or 3rd by now. And let's face it, Man City's run away with the league this year. So realistically, were we going to stay up there longer than we did? I mean, perhaps I think if we'd beaten Liverpool or got something out of the Liverpool game, it might have been a bit different. We might have been there for a little while longer. Might have given us a bit of confidence. But it is what it is, and we are where we are, and we're there. The table don't lie at the end of the season, does it? As many people say, and what the most frustrating thing is, it's so Spursy. We had the chance today to go 4th, and we've blown it again. I'll come back to that. Chelsea losing, they're not going to lose every week like that. Leicester losing. I mean, we almost, if it had to be won today, we almost could have said we had Leicester in our sights. And it was in our hands. That was the main thing. Yeah, we'd have to win every game, but we had it in our hands, because we've got to play Everton again, haven't we? Even though they had a game in hand over us, we've got to play them again. We had it in our hands, and they blew it. That's all you can say. How many more times is this going to happen with this club?
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Say, Craig. Melvyn, let's come to you. Let's talk about the game itself. Just after 2 minutes, Davinson Sanchez gave the ball away. Joe Linton shot straight at Hugo Lloris. After 8 minutes, Harry Kane had Tottenham's first shot on target. Of course, Dubravka saved. And then in the 19th minute, Hugo Lloris had to make 2 fantastic saves from Dwight Gow. What did you make of that moment? Hugo Lloris making 2 great saves, because Hugo Lloris is quite often this season. Again, the fans have been very mixed. Lots of people want him to leave at the end of the season. Lots of people, including myself, want him to stay. What are your thoughts on Hugo?
Yeah, Hugo's he's a world-class keeper. At times, he can pull off these saves that keep you in the match. Keep you ahead or get you the 3 points. He pulls off these incredible saves. He does make mistakes. All keepers make mistakes, but we take these saves for granted. We forget how good he is, and we take him for granted because over the years, I think we've become numb to how well he plays. And when he makes these mistakes, all of a sudden, we need a new keeper. We need someone else. But he's an incredible keeper. He's a World Cup winner, for God's sakes. He's a very good keeper, and having the defense he has in front of him certainly doesn't help him right now. But to make a save like that, I thought it was in. I thought he saved it off the line, and which he did. But I thought it crossed the line and he pulled it back. Thankfully, it didn't. But yeah, on another day, I think, Newcastle would have won the game. Luckily for him and for us, he pulled off a really, really good save.
Yeah. Josh, let's come to you. I asked Melvyn a very similar question. So AJ's 1988 has written a super chat here. So thank you very much for your comment. Jose out regardless. Do we all want to go back next season and watch that? If Harry Kane, Heung-min Son and Tanguy Ndombele don't create a bit of magic, we look clueless. What are your thoughts?
I think AJS... although I don't agree Jose out, I do agree with you. If we don't have a bit of magic from those players, we do look clueless. And like some commentator was saying, if Son and Kane leave, Spurs will just be an average football club. And you would literally, you have to hold up your arms and do it and agree with that statement, because these boys, without them, we'd be absolutely shocking. Like it would be embarrassing. These guys are keeping us up in this position. These players have scored our goals, and especially Kane and Son. I mean, they've run the show this year and pretty much propelled us to being 5th. Without them, goodness knows where we'd be. Sorry, but yeah, do we really want to go next season and watch this type of football? Well, we'll see, won't we? If we're even allowed in the stadium next season, I don't know how that's going to work. With all the stuff going on at the moment in terms of politics, but I hope so. But there may be some boos. I think if we play so negatively, I think a lot of fans are divided over Jose, which isn't a good thing, because you've got the kind of people who want Jose out, and then you've got the people who just want Jose to be backed. And what we risk is it becoming like an Arsenal situation where you've got all these people who wanted Wenger out. And it turns into just very toxic very quickly, and but I don't know. I've got to a point now where it's happened so many times, Chris, that you don't know what you can do anymore. It's happened for years, and it's happened so many times. I mean, we haven't won a trophy since 2008. We always bottled it in big games, and now we're just going more downhill. And unless we have investment, as Melvyn said, unless we bring in players to improve the team, then whatever manager you bring in, unless you don't invest, we're going to have the same players who are going to make the same mistakes. So this squad isn't going to magically turn into a top Premier League team that's able to top Man City or Manchester United in a night if a new manager comes in. Jose is trying his best to get the most out of this team, and you can want him out, but you've got to look at the logic here. If you bring in a new manager, and then you need to sit down Kane and Son and others and say, we're going for a proper rebuild. Do you want to be part of this? And they probably say no. Why would they sit down and go, oh, I'm going to go through another rebuild? Because they're not going to win anything, and they need to win trophies. I mean, what a travesty that would be. These unbelievable football players. so much more talent than a lot of other players that play for teams that win huge trophies like Premier League, Champions League, European trophies, etc. These players deserve to. And I know in recent days, like Son's been linked to European teams like Munich. Kane is getting linked to everyone by Sky Sports and TalkSport. And at the end of the day, we've got 8 games pretty much to save the season. A bit like the politicians always say, 2 weeks to save the NHS or whatever. We've got 8 games to save Tottenham's season, to save our good players. So we can only keep positive, like I said before. We've got to just put this behind us and go for the next game. Let's go and beat Man United. Hopefully they're going to be wanting revenge so badly. I saw some comments in the YouTube comments section saying, obviously we beat them 6-1. They're going to be out for revenge. They're going to want to put 6 past us probably because they're going to be absolutely fuming. But hopefully that we can put some goals past them and get a result at home. We might be able to do that at home. Obviously, last year it was a draw after lockdown. I think Bergwijn scored. So hopefully we can get a result in that game. We just got to keep positive.
When you say about saving the season, Josh, what do you mean? Because if Tottenham got a Europa League place, for next season, and we lost the League Cup, is that good enough?
No, I don't think that's good enough. I think saving the season, I mean, we need to get top 4. That's what I mean by it. I think we're so close to getting top 4. It'll be a travesty to bottle it now. And obviously today we could have been 4th. We literally could have been in the top 4, but they couldn't do it. So they've got 8 games to get top 4. And I think if they don't get top 4 and we lose the we lose the Carabao Cup final, it's just failure again in the season. I mean, I'm not going to be happy with Europa League, honestly. Last year, I think everyone kind of accepted Europa League because of the absolute shambles that happened at the end of Pochettino era, and we were sitting in 14th. Jose managed to scrap us up from 14th to like 6th or something, and that was we actually got back and got European football, and we scraped it with that 1-1 draw against Crystal Palace. We've had a whole season, and getting Europa League and bottling Champions League is not good enough, in my opinion. Honestly, it's not good enough.
No. Craig, let's come to you. Let's get back to the game. In the 28th minute, Newcastle United took the lead, going 1-0 up. Sanchez gave the ball away. Defensively, we looked all over the place. Joe Linton ended up putting the ball in the net. Talk us through that goal and talk us through your views.
Yeah, I think Tanganga made an error first off as well, actually. So let's not let him off the hook as well. And then Sanchez had a chance to get rid of it, and he didn't. And I think Anthony Costa might have said on one of your videos, Joey Linton would probably score, and he was right. That was the first thing that went through my mind. Geezer I don't know how many goals he's got, but he's useless.
He calls it every single week, Craig. Yeah. Anthony Costa. You want to bet? Honestly, you want to make some money? Listen to Anthony Costa.
Honestly, he's right though, and he's not just saying things because just sometimes you say things in the hope they don't happen.
And talk with the devil.
Oh, he's turned up.
There he is. I was just speaking about him.
Experience.
I don't know if you heard what I just said, but
Anthony, let's bring you straight in. Craig has just said on a previous video, Anthony Costa said Joe Linton will score in this game, and he did. And you were absolutely right yet again.
Spot on, and I absolutely spot on. I hate to say I told so, but I did. Yeah, that's what this club does to us, boys and girls. Yeah, we ain't good enough, never will be, and we deserve everything we got today. Yeah, we ain't got all these world-class players that we always go on about. 1 or 2 maybe, but the rest, shocking. And we've always been like that, and we'll always will be like that. Okay, I'm still here wearing this poxy shirt, trying a bit of support. Nah, mate, not having it. Rubbish today. Rubbish. From top to bottom, mate. I am fuming. When you laugh so much that you're fuming, because you don't want it to ruin your day. That's how I feel, boys. That's how I feel. That's what this club does to you. It's a disgrace.
Anthony, I said to the guys earlier, why does this keep happening in your opinion? Because, whenever us Tottenham fans seem to say, if we win today, we can do this. If we win today, we're going top 4, this, that and the other. And then it's always, we seem to be let down time and time again.
Chris, bottle jobs, mate. We are bottle jobs. We don't know how to win. We don't know how to get over the line. No matter who's in charge, whether you're Jose in, Jose out today, Jose shake it all about, Poch in, Poch out, It don't matter who is in charge. We will always be a banter club. We will. We just get laughed at ourselves, mate. Today, I texted on the group. Joe Willock, come on. Watch. He came on. He hasn't scored all season.
Yeah.
Pipes up against us, though, doesn't he? Because they want it. They're fighting relegation. They want. We should be winning 2-1 comfortably today. But nah, mate. Nah, we balls it all up as usual.
Yeah.
There's no excuses, mate. So
Melvyn,
gutted,
Melvyn, let's come to you. Roy Price writes a super chat on screen. Thank you very much again, Roy. We don't need to change the manager. Player recruitment this summer is absolutely crucial for us to compete. What are your thoughts? What do you think Jose Mourinho will be given if he is still there, for next season? This summer transfer window is crucial. As even Josh said, the rebuild is absolutely huge. How many players realistically do you see Tottenham signing this summer, and how many players leaving?
I don't think the rebuild is as big as we think, because realistically, if we can sort out, get a proper central defender, a proper leader, and we have Oliver Skip coming back from loan, who looks like he can do a job, next to Højbjerg. If he can sort out the defense and us not conceding these late goals, we're not that far off. We're not that far off 5th place. So the team isn't going forward. We don't have a problem. It's conceding the goals that's the problem. It's not like we're trying to find 20 goals a season. We have that already. We have players who can find the net. It's just conceding these goals and seeing the games. We're getting the goals. It's just, this is what Jose knows how to do. But why isn't he doing it? We don't have the guys that know how to do it. We don't have the guys that know how to defend or have the experience, and that's what we need. We need, why doesn't the club go after Sergio Ramos? A guy like him. Why doesn't the club go after a proper leader, a guy who can make a difference? Liverpool signed Virgil van Dijk and completely transformed the team. If we can get our own version of Virgil van Dijk, we can possibly do what Liverpool have done. How many games did we lose in the last few minutes? In the last 10 minutes, in the last 15 minutes. The problem is not going forward. We can score 5, 4. We've scored, I think, more goals than or close to as many goals as Bayern Munich this season in all of Europe. We've scored over 100 goals. It's just defense is our problem. We're not that far off. We just need a couple of strong leaders in the team, and we need to, there's deadwood in the team that needs to go. Sissoko for me, Winks, Lamela. There's players who can't attack and can't defend, and they have to go. Yeah. There's so much players that can't do neither. They can't attack, they can't contribute to goals and assists, and they can't defend. So what do you contribute to this team if you can't do either? Winks, Sissoko. My brother keeps joking to me, and he's a Tottenham fan, but he likes to joke. He says Winks has the assist of the season. I'm like, what do you mean? He said he assisted Lanzini for that goal.
Oh.
And it kills me every single time, because what do you contribute to this team? And he'll see this video on Monday morning when he's working, and he'll message me. He says, thanks for saying that, but it's true. It's the sad truth. We have players in this club that don't contribute enough, and there's too many of them on the bench. And sadly, I'd like to see Dele pull it around, but if he can't contribute, he has to go. And we need players who can defend and contribute. If you can defend, that's what we need right now.
I have a question for all the lads, actually, just quickly. Does anyone feel like when you watch Spurs, you're just like apathetic when you watch them? When you used to watch them, it was really exciting, got your heart rate up. You were like, oh my God, come on, lads, we can actually go and win this game. Now you just sit there and you think, when are they going to equalise? When are we going to concede a goal? This is depressing. This is why
you know what? See, again, sorry to cut you there. I don't know what era you're from, so you've got to really excuse me, fella, and I don't want to sound patronising because you're absolutely spot on. But I sit there, and Chris will back me up, yeah? I sit there and go, he will score today.
Yeah.
That manager will get his first win at Spurs.
He ain't scored for 15 years. He will score against us. We are not good enough. When will people realise that Champions League run papered over the cracks?
Yeah.
End of. End of. Stop going on about it, everyone. Harry Winks had 25 minutes against Real Madrid. Come on. Come on. Get your heads out your asses, boys and girls. Not saying you. It's enough. Enough. The sentimentality of this club has got to go. Yeah? I said to my mate today, I said, I hate to say this, mate, but I don't think Son is world class. And he went, I think you're right. Now, if I put that to you, what do you think? Is everyone going to go like that? Am I allowed to say that? Because sometimes when I've said stuff, I always get, oh, no, you can't say that because you can't say that. Am I not allowed to say that someone's not world class, or do I have to go and be a sheep and follow everyone else? Because if you ain't scored in 11 games or 12 games, you came on today. What did you do? What did you do today? You're supposed to be world class. I love him. Don't get me wrong. See, show me the light. Sonny's world class. Okay, show me why he's world class. World class gets that game by the scruff of its neck. You come on as a sub, yeah, okay, and you try your best. You didn't perform today, and I'm not saying it because I do love Son. I absolutely love that geezer. Yeah, and he has saved us on so many occasions. Reguilon ain't the best left back in the Premier League. Come on. Come on. Jesus, man. He does one assist and everyone starts jumping up and down. Sissoko tackles against Arsenal and he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. Do me a favour, man. We need to get our head out of our asses, mate. It's embarrassing. We are a banter club and we'll always be a banter club.
What's realistic for this season? What's realistic, then?
Nothing. We don't deserve nothing.
No,
that is how I'm feeling today. Sorry. I'm sorry, Marv. I'm sorry, Merv. I'm sorry.
No, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you. I
am fuming. I'm laughing because I'm fuming so much. This is what this club has done to me. On the last word on Spurs group chat, ask Chris. I started laughing down the phone.
Do you know what, Anthony? What pained me today is I'm sitting there watching the game with my family, and my boy Harry, we're 2-1 up, and he said, "Dad, this game's going to end 2-2." And I said, "Of course it's not. We're going to win." No. And I thought, my God, even my son now is coming out with they're going to score, and he knows that they're going to score. I thought, my God, it's like sitting watching with Anthony Costa.
Chris, did I not text the group the minute Willett come on?
Yeah.
What did I say? I said watch, and I got laughed at.
Your timing to come on this channel today was absolutely impeccable because Craig was only just quoting you, saying you'd said about Joe Linton scoring. I was saying if you want to earn some money and bet on anything, bet on a football match, listen to Anthony Costa because he's right every week.
My mate's just 150 quid betting on Joe Linton scoring.
Unbelievable.
I don't bet.
What is it?
I don't bet, but he's betting against our club. He's a Spurs fan. What that one at?
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. I'm sorry, lads, to rant and rave and everything, but if you don't rant and you don't get it off your chest, it eats you inside. And I'm just sitting there, I'm laughing. Nothing phases me anymore. The Europa League the other week. Yeah, I was upset. Melvyn was on the show with me, mate.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? They don't care, man. They don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not, you know what I mean? So, anyway.
And you don't ever apologise for ranting. We love your passion, so don't ever do that.
I know, but you get that. Oh, but you're going to end up like AFTV. It's nothing like that. It's nothing like that. I love this club so much. Look at this. I'm wearing this Poxy shirt.
Yeah, it's funny, Anthony, the way you're talking, and I started this video, which of course you weren't on it at the start, but it feels like a defeat to me today.
Yeah.
You feel the same?
Of course, mate. It's not good enough. You're 2-1 up. You should be beating teams 2-1. That is a normal scoreline to go and win a game. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, when's he going to score? St. Maximum, come on. When's he going to score? When's he going to assist? What did he do? He assisted and Willock scored. Yeah. Is he going to do that again? Has Lanzini scored a goal since West Ham against us? Has Odegaard scored for Arsenal? No. Who did he score against? Us. And I said that on the show, didn't I, Chris?
You did. Yeah.
Because they turn up against Spurs, mate.
I'll tell you what, though, we are lucky. We're lucky that we're in lockdown. Because genuinely, imagine going to these games. Imagine if you went to that Europa League away game and then went to Newcastle, where if you're a season ticket holder, imagine that. How like painful and what like a waste of time that would have been. It is shocking if you think about it in that way. And I'm sure if fans were in the stadium right now, I think the situation would be a bit different, to be honest.
Be going Garrity, wouldn't you? Absolutely. I'll tell you what. I know, Chris, you go away, didn't you? You go away every game. I mean, that performance in the Europa League, I think like Antony's hit the nail on the head there about being annoyed, but I'm kind of getting immune to it now because we've seen it so many bloody times this season, the same crap dished up week after week after week, and then we hit a good phase and you get your hopes up again. We win 5 in a row. Gareth Bale's smashing them in running games. Dele Alli's back playing well. And then you get the North London derby. We all go into it thinking we got a chance here. This is the best chance we've had. Arsenal is nothing special. And they don't turn up. And I think Gareth Bale was made a scapegoat a bit for that game. I thought they were all toilet, to be honest with you. There wasn't a player that come out of that game with not respect, but I don't think anybody could hold their hands up and said they gave 100% in that game. And then the Europa farce. But I'm annoyed, I'm frustrated today, but I'm not surprised. And that's what worries me, Chris, to be honest. The fact I'm not surprised, because we should be surprised that we're surrendering leads. If we've got any illusions of actually winning something and doing well, really. Because if that was a Manchester City, the fans would, probably feel differently. That's who we should be aspiring to, And I'm just not surprised that it's happened again, really.
Well, Craig, let's stay with you. Josh mentioned earlier about the rebuild, and of course, lots of comments are coming in about the board of how much money we're going to spend. Will Jose Mourinho be backed this summer? Colin writes a super chat comment here, so thank you very much, Colin. The team should have been rebuilt 2 years before that Champions League final. And as you said earlier on in the video, Christian Eriksen hasn't been replaced. Players like Kyle Walker, Danny Rose, etc. You could argue that Reguilon has now come in for Danny Rose, but lots of players, Moussa Dembele, Wanyama, lots of players you could name and say, well, they haven't really been replaced. When is this actual rebuild going to take place, and when are vast amounts of money going to be reinvested?
Do you know what? I mean, I think I said on one of your previous videos, Chris, in my opinion, we need 200 million to get anywhere near replacing with the players we need. And that would include 70, 80 million if we're lucky and players going out the door. So Joe Lewis, I know he's not prone to it, and Enoch, they need to put their hand in their pocket and give Mourinho 120, 100 million and get the players he wants. And that might even only buy you 3 or 4 players. Might even buy you 2. I don't know. But in my opinion, 200 million and keeping hold of our best players once we need to. Because going back to that battle of the bridge we were talking about earlier, I was mentioning that, as we all know, football teams are like a jigsaw puzzle and it all fits together. And at that point, it was all together, wasn't it? And we were so close. I know we didn't get over the line, but we were so close. We were 1, possibly 2 players away from winning the league. Really. And like you say, the Champions League final, it was lovely to get there, but my son was watching on YouTube a rerun of the run to the final. I didn't realise just how lucky we really were. If you watch the games, VAR, exactly.
We didn't outplay City. We didn't go to City and smash them. We went to City 4-0, 4-1.
We had a bit of luck. And yeah, you're due a bit of luck. I know you've got to have a bit of luck in games.
Of course.
But let's face it, we were bloody lucky. Take that out of it, we were atrocious from January through to even when Poch went. And that jigsaw was falling apart when Kyle Walker left.
Yes.
And it's never been knitted back together. Kyle Walker's a massive... he was one of my favourite players, and I've said before, you cannot mark pace. And we've never replaced Kyle Walker. And that, in my opinion, where it started to go wrong, and we never quite recovered from that. And yeah, in answer to your question, £200 million, in my opinion, you've got to speculate to accumulate. That's what we need to do. Unfortunately, that's the way of the world. That is football. And if we want to get anywhere, we need to get Enoch and Joe Lewis to put their hands in their pockets and spend a bit of money on decent quality players. That is the only way, and I mean the only way, we are going to progress and get any better. Because I think we've proved buying them young, hoping they come good, is not working.
Right. But we've said that for 20 years. We've been saying that. We've been saying that for 20 years. The club should invest their money, put your hands in your pocket and invest. And the one time they didn't, it didn't work. When we sold Gareth Bale, when we bought 8 or 9 players, or
yeah,
7.
they were all shit though. They were all shit apart from Eriksen.
One of them worked. One of them worked, and the worst one of the bunch is still here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I would say Paulinho was pretty bloody awful, to be honest. But
the recruitment side, you don't need 200 million. You just need to buy the right player. You know, you don't need 200 million, and I don't think the team is that far off. You just need the right recruitment in the right positions, and we'll be there next season. We just need, you know, a couple of defensive midfielders and a good centre half, and maybe a right back, and we'll be all right. And these players won't cost us, you know, 80, 90 million if they recruit and they find the right players. Other clubs do it. Teams like West Ham and Southampton and Wolves, they seem to buy good play. They seem to buy and find good players. They don't spend 50, 60 million, do they?
Yeah, but
I think you've got to look at Man City. You've got to look at Man City. They needed a right back, and they spent 50 million on Kyle Walker, didn't they?
Man City buy two 50 million pound player for every position. So when one isn't performing or one doesn't go well, you know, they have one to spare. They have quality. That's why they win. They have 50 million pound players in every single position, and they have 2 of them, and we can't afford to do that. So that's why Manchester City have, you know, been up there for so long and continue to dominate for 4 or 5 years.
Melvyn, Joe Lewis and Enoch can afford it. They just choose not to. And I think that's what you've got to remember. You've got to remember that.
Levy said this consistently, that it's not the structure of the club. It's just not, is it? And unless that changes, we're never going to win anything. But it's not how the club is run. The way they run the club is, you know, they buy and he's consistently said this, always the same way. He said it, we want to be competitive, and it will buy and spend, you know, as much as they're capable to spend. And with COVID and all of that going on, you know, to buy players, he's going to have to sell, sadly. And it's unlucky because the club, you know, with the stadium and the revenue it was making, you know, the club is very unlucky because it was starting to flex, you know, it's financial power. When Arsenal, when they built their stadium, they sold all of their best players. Who did we sell? We didn't sell anyone. That summer we spent 120 million.
Yeah. Boys and girls, I've got to shoot off money. Lots of love to you all, man. Come on, let's go.
Cheers, Antony.
See you. Bye, mate.
Cheers,
Melvyn, let's stay with you. Colin writes on screen now, Alex Ferguson knew when to sell players and bring in new talent. It is so important for a football club, isn't it, to bring new players in when needed and release players that you're not going to use. And I'm sure, you know, Jose Mourinho has got a huge summer ahead of him, you know, this summer, because next season, you know, we all talk about this rebuild, and the more I talk about this rebuild with, you know, various Tottenham fans on this channel, or, you know, just on the phone or whatever, you know, every time I talk about the rebuild, it just seems a huge, huge job. And every time you talk about it, you're just thinking this is just going to cost multi-millions of pounds. You know, will Jose Mourinho, or indeed any future manager, will they get the money required, you know, for Tottenham to be a real contender to challenge for the Premier League? Or have we just got to accept that we will be that team that is always challenging for the top 4?
I don't know. I don't think this team is that far off. I don't think we need, you know, 200 million, 300 million to become all of a sudden, you know, fighting for the league. You know, at one point we were fighting for the league, and we were in that conversation when we were saying, can we win the league? Not, you know, we were in that conversation at one point. You know, we were first place for a couple of weeks, you know, and now all of a sudden, you know, there's real gaps in the team. And I think there's an element to Jose where I hate to say it, and I hate for this to be true, but I think sometimes he puts players in certain positions to show the board, listen, I don't have the best squad here. You know, I think he shows that to the board. There's an element to Jose where he tries to cover his job and make sure that, you know, he's safe, and he shows the board, listen, I don't have good central defenders here at the club, and there are there are holes in this team, and if we can fix the defense with something Jose knows how to do, and the club knows what we need to do to become successful. Obviously, we all know where the problems are in the club. Every single Spurs fan knows who the problem is, because we're all saying the same thing on Twitter. We all keep blaming the same players. The same mistakes keep happening game after game. So the board should know where they need to strengthen next season. And if they don't, how many years did we say we needed a backup striker, and finally they got one?
Yeah.
Hopefully now we need a new central defender. We need two. Hopefully they'll fix that this summer.
Josh, let's come to you. Kev William writes here, it's winding me up that we sit on a 1-goal lead. I think we all feel like that, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. It's happened so many times this season. And they just stop playing. They just go all negative. They just stop playing attacking football as soon as we've got that 1-goal lead. And then it's just a matter of time. You could literally predict it on your watch. You could go, when are they gonna equalise then? If we don't get another goal, this is gonna end as a draw. And that is all down to mentality at the end of the day. And this Tottenham team clearly doesn't have the mentality to put these games to bed. And like I said earlier, with Jose Mourinho as your manager, the one thing you expect is having that mentality to win 1-0 or win by 1 goal. That's what he's known for, to put games to bed, to rely on his players to not go out and score 5 goals, but to win these games by 1 goal. And they're completely failing to do it. They're doing the opposite. And it's happened since the first game Jose came in. And we said this a couple of weeks ago. In that West Ham game, his first game, we conceded 2 late goals. And that was the first breadcrumb. And they've spread all throughout the past 2 years. And it's happened quite over and over again, especially this season. As I said earlier in the stream, like the game against Wolves, we get an early goal, we hang on to the 1 goal from Ndombele, and then we concede in the last couple of minutes. Crystal Palace, now this one where it was against Newcastle, where it's 2-2. The Newcastle game at home, where we went 1-0 up, and then there's a 97th minute penalty. It just happens over and over again. It's the same players, and they just don't have the mentality. But with what Melvyn was saying about transfers and how much money we need to spend to compete for the Premier League, I don't think we're capable of winning the Premier League at all. In terms of football and modern football, it's not about footballing talent anymore. It's about money. And teams like Man City, teams like other teams who have so much investment, we can't compete with that. Although, yeah, Joe Lewis probably.
You know what though, Josh? I think some people will say, Leicester City, they won the Premier League.
That was a complete freak.
Yeah, but of course Tottenham, didn't spend a penny in 518 days. We went to a Champions League final. Yes, we didn't win it. We still got to that final. True.
I do agree with you, Chris, but we didn't win. That's the thing. And to win, you have to flex your muscles, your financial muscles, and spend. And I don't think we're going to win anything until we spend. And our transfer policy is terrible. We've missed out on so many players. Grealish, he would have been huge. An attacking, creative midfielder, which we're dying for. We were linked to Bruno Fernandes, which will always haunt me. I've seen quotes, especially in recent days, saying Bruno Fernandes was closer to joining Spurs last summer or something, a couple of summers ago. I can't remember if it was last summer, than Man United, because he joined Man United in January. It was the summer before he joined Man United. Yeah. And then Ruben Dias as well. We were linked with Skriniar and Ruben Dias at the back, and we go out and sign the cheaper option in Joe Rodon. And I like Joe Rodon, but getting Skriniar in or getting Dias in would have been huge. Look at what Dias has done for Man City. We didn't spend the £50 million it was to get him in, and we've paid for it. City brought him in, and they've re-established themselves as dominant in the league. And until we actually flex the muscles financially, we're never going to compete with these teams, especially, and we're never going to win the Premier League. It's not going to happen. I genuinely think it won't happen unless these teams run out of money. And it goes back in the day. Back in the olden days, when it was all about talent, it was all about the football talent, management, and great individuals and great managers. And now it's about the money, and it's so sad that football's become a game. It's not just a sport anymore. It's a game, and it's a business. and especially our board, they built the stadium instead of investing in our team. At the one point where if we did invest before we built the stadium, we probably would have won the league. We probably would have won the league if we invested in that team that got so close to winning the Premier League. But we chose not to, and as you said, losing Kyle Walker was just the first piece in the jigsaw puzzle before it started all falling apart, and then it went Moussa Dembele. Losing Danny Rose, he just became old and didn't play properly. Losing Vertonghen as they get older. Alderweireld's going to go. This squad has fallen apart, and we haven't really put it back together properly, and that's why we're having serious problems at the moment.
I think to be fair, the stadium needed to be built 100%. As much as I love White Hart Lane, we needed that stadium. So you've got to give a bit. But what nobody could predict is COVID. And I genuinely think that has affected us like it's affected everybody. God knows how much money. I did hear a figure of 150, 200 million we've lost this season because of it.
Let's go to David's comment here, and David, very kindly came on the show straight after the Arsenal game. Very difficult video that was. David writes here, we have been rebuilding every season since Daniel Levy took charge. Now, I know a lot of Tottenham fans feel like that because, like Josh said there, when we're expecting superstars to come in, we seem to go for the cheaper option, a lot of the time. Why do you think that is?
Look, let me just say about Daniel Levy. As a businessman, what he's done for Tottenham, where he took over from and where we are now, as in the stadium, the training ground, I think he's been absolutely fantastic for the club. And there's no doubt he has got some good deals over the line. But what frustrates me with Levy is he penny pinches sometimes, like Josh has said there, Grealish, Fernandes, Skriniar, Diaz. You could probably pull a load more out. Dybala, my God, Dybala.
That was a joke.
And it was frustrating. The funny thing about the Fernandes thing, that was rattling on a couple of summers ago, and I was on holiday in Portugal.
Yeah.
And we was just sitting around the pool every day, and I was on Twitter most of the time and reading reports, and it looked like it was going to happen. Yeah. And I think that was the same summer the Dybala thing was happening. And this was all I was out there. And I was talking to, we was in a cab going somewhere, and I was talking to this obviously Portuguese cab driver and saying about Fernandes. And he's, all their favourite teams was in Portugal was Wolves because of the amount of Wolves players and the manager. And he says, but Fernandes, he was confident Fernandes going to Tottenham, and he said he is so good, he is such a good player. He's going to basically turn your season around. And then of course we didn't get him. What a letdown. But going back to Daniel Levy, he just sometimes. Actually, do you know what? I'll come back to what I said before. We need to speculate to accumulate, and that's the one frustrating thing about Daniel Levy. He tries to penny pinch too often, and that's when we've missed out on these big deals that I think we all realise, and he probably realises if you asked him privately, he's ballsed up on, and he should have spent those few extra quid because he's not penny pinched to get Lo Celso, but you got Lo Celso, and then you got Joe Rodon when you could have had Fernandes and Skriniar for probably not that. When you look at what you're getting in return. Oh my God, it's worlds apart. So as good as he is, and as much magic he's produced off the park with the training centre and the stadium, which needed to be built, and he's built to future proof. And I'm sure in years to come that stadium is going to be a money making machine. Once we're back to normal with the concerts, the boxing, the NFL, the revenue from home games where you're generating £800,000 a home game. On just food and drink, the club shop, all the abseiling down, the skywalk, everything else that goes with that. So the nightclub, which of course hasn't had to been able to be open.
But when that is in full flow, though, Craig, that is going to be more expectation on the board to spend even more money, isn't it?
No, absolutely, Chris. Yeah, and they need to. It's like I come back to it again. They need to give him money this summer. They need to put their hands in their pockets and say, if they want to sell the club, then sell it to somebody who's willing to invest, because they've got the money to do it. That's a frustrating thing. See, Abramovich has done it. The Sheikh at Man City does it. Why can't our owners do it? Surely they can see that the way we've been doing this just isn't working. We haven't quite got there. So they've got to spend money and give Mourinho the players he wants. If they give Mourinho the players he wants and we still can't do it, then it's obviously something else. But I don't believe that. I'm not a massive Mourinho fan, and like you, Chris, I'm not Mourinho in or out, to be honest with you. And I think it would be a disaster if we was to get rid of him now, to be honest, because if he can't get these players over the line, then who, quite frankly, can? Exactly. You know, Pochettino couldn't do it. He can't do it at the moment. Yeah. So it's 30 million to get rid of him. We might as well keep him and go for Skriniar. And that, if you're thinking of, do you know what I mean? If you're thinking about it logically, if you're thinking about getting rid of Mourinho, you've got to spend 30 million to get rid of him, and then buy another manager out of their contract, and then there's going to still be fans out there that want Skriniar, and he's got 50 million. You've got to look at it logically. So if you're saying we've got that money, you keep Mourinho, you haven't got to pay another manager off, and you buy Skriniar anyway, and then look at the situation. But I'm not a Mourinho fan. It's just logic to me. It's just logic. Yeah.
Melvyn, we'll come to you in just 1 second. I just want to talk about this super chat with Josh on screen now. Looking forward to the cup final, Joshy.
Yeah, Mark. He's an American guy. I know, City fan. So he must be salivating after watching that Spurs game against Newcastle and thinking, God, they must be licking their lips, Man City, after watching that, because our defence is an absolute shambles at the moment. And watching City, as you said about De Bruyne. And how good they look. I can only keep positive about that game, but it could be a complete disaster. I mean, it could. It really could.
We'll come on to that, Josh. We'll come on to that. Melvyn, let's come back to you. Colin writes another super chat. Thank you very much, Colin. At the moment, our new stadium is like having an expensive bottle of wine with cheap Aldi wine in the bottle.
Hello, so Aldi do some good wine, to be honest with you. So.
The point Craig was making, you were spot on about Levy before, and I agree with you 100%. I actually think in Levy's vision of the club, I think that he didn't expect Poch to do such a good job.
Yeah.
In his plan of where he thought the club was going and how we were growing as a club, I don't think he expected us to do so well and to get us into the Champions League so consistently in his tenure and to get us to a Champions League final as well, even though some people say we were lucky and with paper over the cracks and we needed the rebuild and all of that. But in Levy's plan, I think he didn't really picture the club going forward until the stadium was built. I really think and honestly believe that in his vision of Tottenham and us growing forward, obviously he didn't have COVID in the plan. No one did. But going forward, I think the club was really going to, flex. And we're really right now a sleeping giant in a way. I honestly think in 10 to 20 years, we could be one of the most powerful clubs in Europe or even England. You look at the progress we've made in the last 20 years. And where we've come from humble beginnings. We've only spent what we could make. We didn't have extreme investments into the club. And I think going forward, I really hope that, Levy continues and stays in charge and doesn't sell the club, because I really believe in the structure and the way we're going forward. And, we're compliant with these financial fair play rules and we don't pay these massive wages and this. I think the structure of the club, even though it's very frustrating as a fan and it doesn't always rarely translates to trophies, I really believe at the end of all of this and Levy's plan, this will translate to trophies. And our era of success and our era of silverware will one day come. It's just being patient, even though we've been patient for the last 20 years. And I think the final step is the hardest one. I think if you aim for top 4 like West Ham are doing, it's quite easy and it's quite a successful season. If you aim for top 4 and you get 5th, it's a successful season. But us as fans, we were in the Champions League final a couple of years ago, so all of a sudden being 5th, a couple points off top 4 is disastrous. It's a disaster of a season. You have to put things in perspective, where we've come from and where we're really going as a club. So if we can somehow, by a miracle, get top 4, it's not such a bad season. We're in a Europa League final. We're 5-6 years. Sorry, the League Cup final. Where a couple of years ago, you would have said I would have been happy with that. I think Pochettino, how successful he was, and such a good job he's done, really makes this season look even worse, because our perspectives and our expectations of the club were this high. I think if we never made it to the Champions League final, in a way, we'd look at the club and we wouldn't be as disappointed, because we were there, we were so close, and our expectations are so high coming off of that. Next season I thought, we're gonna go even further. We might win it next season. We might do what Liverpool did. So it makes all of this harder to swallow in a way. It's harder to take all of this, what's going on. But it's a matter of perspective. Like I said, you look at West Ham. They're aiming for top 4, and if they get 5th, it's like they won a trophy. If they finish on top of us, it's like they won a trophy. If with our players, even though we're playing poorly, if we can somehow get into the top 4 this season, it's still not a bad season. It's probably not going to happen because it is Spurs, and we always seem to do things the hard way. We never do things the easy way. We drew today, which seems like a loss, but if we win against Manchester United, which is possible with our players, we have the potential to do it. Will we do it? Probably not.
Chris,
go on.
No, just going back on what Kev Williams has put on the screen there. I've just jotted down some names, so I'd like you guys to see what you think. Right?
Yeah.
5 players that you'd sell in the summer. And one of them who's coming, but let's just say, to get off the wage bill to generate money. Okay, this is some names I'm going to throw at you: Rose, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Foyth, and then you got Winks, Sissoko, Doherty, Sanchez, Lamella.
No, he said 5, Craig.
Yeah, but I've gone a bit overboard, I know, but I'm telling you players that our eyes don't see. Sorry, I went a bit mad. But then Gazzaniga, so Lamella, Gazzaniga. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 you could get rid of, right? So that gets them off the wage bill. I'm just saying. I don't know how much you get for all of those 9 players. Possibly 80 million. I don't know. And then you've got to remember we've got Skip and Sessegnon coming back. So that's your CDM and your left back. I would go all out for Max Aarons because I think he's a good right back. He's certainly better than Doherty. Go all out for Skriniar, Anderson from Fulham, and an Ericsson type player. Now, don't ask me who that would be. Don't ask me who that would be. Vestergaard, possibly. Yeah. I mean, honestly, don't ask me who that would be. The playmaker.
Listen, if any central defender from the Premier League at this point is an improvement.
Yeah.
And pretty much anyone from the Premier League. You would take.
If I was to choose my 5 players to leave, I think it's very, very easy. I think Eric Dyer has to go. I think Davinson Sanchez.
Oh Christ! I forgot Eric Dyer. Sorry, I let him down.
Exactly. Musa Sissoko, Harry Winks, and one player that might surprise a lot of people, Dele Alli. Because if you're going to keep Jose Mourinho at the club, I don't think he's going to use Dele Alli. I don't think that he's going to have a future at the club. So if Jose Mourinho is going to go, I would love to see Dele Alli stay and flourish as a Tottenham Hotspur player for the future. But I just can't see it. So if you're keeping Jose, I would get rid of Dele Alli because it would bring in a lot of money, which we could then use, to put elsewhere. Melvyn, who's your 5 players?
I think I agree with most of the players you both mentioned. It's not a matter of who, or it's just they have to go. There's 5 or 6 players. I think the main ones for me that might be causing trouble in the dressing room. For me, he did a very good job in the year that got us to the Champions League final. Musa Sissoko has to go for me. They offered him a good contract, following that season, I think, but it doesn't do enough for me. Harry Winks, he's a Tottenham guy. I love him. I'll never say anything bad about him, but sadly he has to go. Obviously, Eric Dyer, I would leave at the club. You know, you said I like Eric Dyer. It's his first full season playing as a central defender. It's his first full season playing as a central defender. All of a sudden, I think he'll be a good squad player. He'll play in the Europa League matches. You know, he works very hard. He does mistakes, but he's decent. And I don't think we can replace 10 players all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Juan Foyth actually has been playing very well in Spain, and he's been playing very, very well. So they might look at him. They might get a couple of million for him. The better he does, the better it is for the club. He's quite young. They believe in him in Argentina. They play him and they call him for the international squad. Who we get excited for? Oliver Skip. You forget Eric Dyer was very, very important in the Pochettino area when he played as a defensive midfielder. He's been very unlucky with injuries. He was out for nearly a year and a half. It took him a year and a half to get back up to speed. And it's his first season playing as a central defender. So we cannot replace 10 players. So you got to prioritize who's going out of the club. We can't replace them all. And I think
that's the worry. That's the worry, though. That's the worry to me. We've listed easily 10 players we could bin.
Yeah.
That's the worry.
Why did you put that comment up?
See, that's what you get for sticking up for Eric Dyer, see?
Jeez. Terrible.
That's the worry. I mean, God.
We can't replace them all, can we?
Melvyn, let's stay with you. Let's get back to the game. I feel like we're going off on tangents here. Harry Kane, of course, equalised for Tottenham, straight after the Newcastle goal. And then he put us 2-1 up within a matter of, a minute or two. Talk us through Harry Kane. What on earth would Tottenham Hotspur do without Harry Kane right now?
In a weird way, I was looking at him play, and he is slow when he runs. He can't beat anyone for speed.
I was trying to be positive.
No, I'm getting to my point. I reckon I'm faster than Kane, but he's so intelligent and he's so good with what he does, his shooting and his finishing and his overall positioning. He's so clever, and he's waiting for the ball, and he's so good, and it scares me to think where we would be without him, because he's just a poacher. He picks off. He gets these balls and he just finishes them off, and he's so clinical, and goals, assists, and even defensive contributions that he's he clears the ball in corners, and he works hard for the team, and it's scary to think where we would be without him. But yeah.
Josh, at half-time, obviously, Tottenham went in 2-1. I've written down here, Harry Kane going forward, fantastic. He's always going to deliver. He's always going to score. He does it week in, week out. But defensively, we did look very, very shaky. Did you expect at that point that Jose Mourinho was going to make any changes, either in midfield or even at the back? But instead, at half-time, he brought on Heung-min Son. What did you make of that change?
I did actually think that was quite a good change, because I thought bringing Vinicius off, he just couldn't get in the game. Carlos Vinicius, I really like him. I think he's a good football player, but he just wasn't really adding anything for us, in my opinion. He won a couple of balls, but he literally didn't get on the ball at all. He was totally absent from the first half. He didn't really get involved. So I thought bringing on Sonny was maybe a tactical change as well. Obviously, Son got injured, and this was like his first game since getting injured. So playing 45 minutes is all right. He couldn't have started because he's just got injured. So I did agree with that change, and I saw it coming. However, I did think he needed to make a defensive change. But Alderweireld wasn't even on the bench, and Alderweireld would have been the player that I would have brought on. I would have probably taken Sanchez off after having such a poor half and brought Toby on to kind of provide more stability at the back, provide more experience, calm things down. And then it kind of just, in the second half, it just got progressively more ragtag. And our defence was just getting completely pulled apart, especially on the left-hand side. Jacob Murphy was having a field day against Regulon. That was probably his worst game in a first shirt.
He's very fast, doesn't he? He ripped him apart, actually. He was really quick. It surprised me.
But Reguilon looks slow. He's lost all his pace. And I swear all these players that come to Spurs lose their pace. Like Bergwijn looks really slow when he's played for us in recent weeks. Even Sonny, I know he's just come back, but he looked really slow on the ball. He couldn't. There's no acceleration. It's like they're not driving like really powerful cars like a Lamborghini. They're driving in, I don't know, a smart car or something. They've got no acceleration.
Yeah. Josh, do you watch the? I'm sure we all do. Like when your Spurs put up videos of the training sessions.
Yeah.
To me, I watch them, and some of them are quite funny. They're all pissing about half the time.
Yeah,
you think I want to see some intensity, and all they're doing is little jogs back. Perhaps it might not be exciting to show them doing like. Do you remember? I'm sure some of you, Chris, you probably remember this. Do you remember Terror Tuesday they used to do when it was? That must have been Jerry Francis or somebody like that back in his day.
Yeah.
And they, I remember Sheringham used to say, they dreaded Tuesdays because it used to be like a 5-mile run, and then they used to do really intense training. I'd love to see proper training. Yeah, do they do that anymore? Because I think you're right, Josh. I think that that speed element. He's really, really strange, and I don't know whether that's just us looking for excuses, but I think you've got a point that, are they as fit as they used to be under Poch? I don't know.
Reguilon was carrying a knock, I think. He had an injury. He was actually a doubt for the match. And with Bergwijn earlier in the season, he's been struggling with like muscular injuries, and which you can't really train with full intensity as well.
But still, they've got to get around it. I mean, they've got their. If you think about it, these lads, their job, they're paid hundreds of thousands of pounds to do one thing, which is play football. And they need to get fit. That's their job, and that's what they do to entertain us as fans. I don't really understand it, and I think a lot of young fans, and I see this quite a lot. They treat professional football as a game like FIFA, and people forget that these lads are professional athletes. This is a sport, and especially on Twitter. People treat the Premier League like some kind of video game. It's not like that. They're all human at the end of the day, and they're all athletes. And I was a competitive swimmer in years past, and we have no idea what's going on behind closed doors. I'm sure they do train hard because they wouldn't be able to run around the pitch for 90 minutes, because I doubt we could. At the pace that they're doing, so we have got to give them some credit, really. But it is something I've noticed, and obviously Craig has said too, that they do seem like they're lacking all types of intensity, all types of pace, and I think they even came out and said some things like saying under Poch the training was too intense. Because he obviously trained them really hard, but now they're complaining about Jose, but it's not intense. It's like, what's going on? It's really confusing. This club is so confusing at the moment, and I do hope we just get out this rut and just improve. Especially with the summer and everything and the Euros, let's just put this behind us. The next season, let's just start afresh.
I think from what you said, Craig, a lot more of it is in the gym now, to do with all the sports science guys as well. Whereas back in the day, Jerry Francis, and even when I spoke to Darren Anderson a few weeks ago, he said about under Christian Gross, away games, they were running around in like the Marriott car park.
I saw that,
training routine, which you can never imagine now under Jose Mourinho. It'd be absolutely crazy. Let's go back to the game. Craig, let's stay with you. The second half, Newcastle grew into the game. It's like they knew what was going to happen. They knew that they were going to get that equaliser. Eventually, they got it in the 85th minute through Willock. But like we said earlier on in the video, full credit to Newcastle, because they had a game plan, and they got 2 draws out of us this season.
Absolutely, they fully deserved it. Can't say anything else. You could say we threw away 2 points, which you did, but let's not take it away from Newcastle. They worked hard. They fully deserved it, and it was probably I don't know. You'd have to ask their fans, but is that one of the best performances they've put in this season? Amazingly again against Tottenham. Yeah, and St. Maximin, and who's the striker they had out? That's it. Thank you, Callum Wilson. So they were doing it without them, and like I say, thank God Joey Linton isn't really a footballer, because you know it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot worse. You know, full credit to Newcastle. I can't really say anything else about them because they fully deserved it. They put the work in. You know, but I was looking at them before the game. I thought we've got this in the bag. Even Tottenham can't balls this up today. We're going to go back to fourth. How wrong I was. You know? Yeah, Kev Williams is right. You could see it coming a mile off. You could see the goal coming a mile off. I must admit, I was still confident that we might get something out of the game towards the end there. But, you know, and wouldn't that have been great if Bale had come on first touch? You can see he just took charge of the situation. I thought he's going to bury this. And, of course, it goes over the bar. But, you know, again, they've let us down. You can't say anything else, can you? And I wonder what the players must be thinking. I said before, I was a striker, nowhere near the level of these guys, of course, at all. But do they have conversations amongst themselves, the forward players, thinking this defence is shit? You know, they're going to cost us fourth. Is there those divisions starting to open up in the squad? I don't know. But I would imagine those conversations would be taking place.
Melvyn, let's come to you. Obviously, Harry Kane got a brace today against Newcastle, but he keeps taking the free kicks. What do you make of this? Because every time he seems to take one of these free kicks, I'm thinking it didn't work the last time, it didn't work the time before, and it didn't work the time before that. You know, who in the Tottenham team should be taking the free kicks, or are you happy to see Harry Kane keep taking them?
Well, ideally, I would have liked Eriksen to take them, but he left. So,
yeah.
He only scored about 2, though, didn't he? He did. Yeah. You know, I think that one against Everton, that was the previous one was December 2015 against Swansea, I think.
He scored a couple of great goals against Swansea, yeah.
He did, but that was it, you know. And Kane, I think, against Villa is the only one he scored, and that was a deflection.
Yeah, that was a deflection.
Everton.
If that's the only bad thing we can come up, you know, and say about Harry
I'll
Kane,
take that.
I'll take it. I'll take it. He can't take free kicks. Who cares? You know, he can do everything else.
Doesn't make sense though, because he can hit a dead ball with a. He's probably the best penalty taker in the world, but he can't hit. So he's got the capability of hitting a dead ball, but why can't he take a free kick? It's not like if you think about it, it's not that different. Like, why? I don't understand. He's whacked them in with like curlers and knuckleballs from range before, but why can't he do it from a free kick? It doesn't make any sense.
He must be doing it in training because he can't keep taking them in Premier League football if he's not hitting them in training.
It doesn't make it. He just hits the wall every time. It's like you can see it before you set Harry Kane's on the free kick. It's going to happen again. It's a bit like when Roy Hodgson put him on corners at the Euros in 2016. It's like we need to get him off free kicks. We need someone else taking them because I think it's getting a bit silly now. Like the definition of stupid is making the same mistake over and over, and we keep letting him take free kicks. But
I'll tell you what, it's worrying though that when Gareth Bale isn't on the pitch, that Harry Kane's our best free kick taker and he can't take them. Yeah. So because if there was somebody better, surely as a manager you'd say, right, Harry, you're not on free kicks today. Reguilon's taking them on the right hand side and I don't know, Sonny's taking them on the left. But Harry Kane, is that what you're saying? Harry Kane's our best free kick taker if Gareth Bale isn't on the pitch. Yet he misses or hits the wall every time. So, you know, I remember David Beckham, the free kick specialist. I would imagine we do this as well, by the way, but he used to stay behind at training for hours just practicing. And, you know, how many free kicks did Beckham score? It pays off. It pays off. But, you know, who knows what goes on.
Now, last question for you all, and thank you so much for taking all this time. We're now at 1 hour and 44. I didn't realise it was going to be this long, so apologies for that. Last question for you all. Can Tottenham get top 4? You know, how are you feeling after today's game? Can we get top 4? We've got 8 Premier League games left. And give me a prediction for the Cup final as well, which, of course, is only 3 weeks away today against Manchester City. Now, 8 Premier League games remaining are Manchester United, Southampton, Sheffield United, Wolves and Villa. Those are the 5 home games. And the 3 away at Everton, Leeds and Leicester. Melvyn, let's start with you. Can Tottenham get top 4? And how are you feeling about this Cup final only 3 weeks away?
Well, the top 4 question. We can get top 4. Will we? I don't think we will. we can, but I don't think we will. You know, if we won today, all we needed is a draw against Manchester United, and we would have been on track. But now we have to beat Manchester, which is going to be very difficult with the current form. But yeah, we have to go to Everton and win, and we have to, I think, go to Leicester and try to get a result. The thing is, the last big victory that we've had this season was in the North London derby, which was December 7th. And it's now we're now April, so that's how long it's been since we've had a very, very big victory. Our biggest victories this season were Man City, Arsenal, and Manchester United in the beginning of the season, and we've not really beaten anyone else, you know, apart from the lower teams. So I don't know. I don't see it, and I don't think it will happen. We'll be close. I reckon we can get, you know, 5th or 6th, but that's probably our best. And going to the Man City final, you know, Jose has a couple more games to figure out our best 11, because I don't even know our best 11 at this point. I don't know what's our best, you know, formation, what's our best tactic going forward, and he has these couple of games to figure it out. You know, is he going to play Vinicius? Is he going to play, you know, Bale, Son, and Kane? Is Ali going to be in the mix? Who's going to be our back four? Is it going to be Toby with the experience? Is he going to play? There's lots of questions, and you know, he could get it spot on, and he has to if we have any chance to winning the game. You know, it has to be a Mourinho masterclass, and there's no other manager, you know, probably us four would pick for this game at this point.
Yeah.
You know, Jose knows how to win cup finals, and hopefully, you know, this is why we pay him the money we paid him. This is why we sacked Pochettino for these kind of games. And this is where, you know, he has to show us that he knows his football, and he knows how to deliver this trophy, and hopefully he can get it over the line, and hopefully all of this suffering we've had, you know, is worth it for that cup. Will we win it? I'm gonna say we might, you know, nick a 1-0. Why not?
Josh, how are you feeling?
After that one, I think after this game today, I think my confidence has been a bit knocked. I'm sure a lot of Spurs fans feel the same. But you can't predict a cup final. Anything can happen in a cup final. I think we're still obviously got a chance. We're the underdogs, clearly, as I said earlier. But in a cup final, anything can happen. And we've got the players to beat City. We've beaten them many times in recent years. As I've said on recent streams, we're a bit of a bogey team for them. So I'd rather be playing City than another London club. To be quite honest, even if City are a great football team, and I'll tell you what, it'll probably be a really good game of football. Hopefully, as long as we get some goals and we go into it with an attacking mindset, I think we've got a chance. But as Craig said earlier, if we just play a low block, I think it is just like limiting. It's just like limitation of how many goals we will concede against City, because that will just be kind of sad if we go into a final and just defend. I think we've got to go in it by the scruff of its neck and try and get something out of the game, because at the end of the day, everyone can say, "Oh, Harry Kane, Son, all these players haven't won a trophy," but they've been playing and they've had the chance to win trophies, and they've got another opportunity to show that they're good enough and they can win these trophies, because they're in these teams that aren't winning trophies. It's still their responsibility to score goals. So they've got to go and do it in this cup final, and hopefully we can. You've got to keep positive, and obviously you're not going to just go, "Oh, City are going to win," blah blah blah, because that would just be really depressing. But hopefully we can do it. And top four, I think it just depends game by game now. With the next 8 games, 24 points to play for, and if it's a crazy season, as both of you said. Especially Melvyn was saying, "Oh, it's a completely crazy season." Like Chelsea dropping points against West Brom at home, like that's crazy. Losing 5-2, and they didn't just lose 5-2; they got absolutely destroyed. If you watch the whole game, they were just completely torn apart by West Brom. So there may be more. I'm sure there'll be more twists and turns to the end of this season, and we might end up in the top 4, and that would be fantastic. But if we don't, then it's it's been not a great season, has it? And at the end of the day, it's the boys. It's their responsibility to do it on the pitch. They're playing the football. They've got to deliver. They didn't deliver today, so they've got to deliver next week. And the one advantage we have is that Man United have a European game on Thursday, and we don't. So that's the only advantage we have on Thursday. On Sunday, United are playing on Thursday night, and obviously we got knocked out by Zagreb. So hopefully we've got a few more fresh legs than them, and we can nick 3 points from Man United, which will be very tough.
Well, I don't think Ben Davis agrees with you there. I'll tell you what. Let's come on. Craig, let's come on to you. Now, of course, Josh says that we must turn up next week against Manchester United. If we do beat Manchester United next week, are we all going to be in a fantastic mood again, thinking that's it, top four's back on? Because this season, that's exactly how I feel like I've been. Yeah. 1 week, I'm in a super mood. The next week, it's absolutely miserable as hell. And then you're up, down, up, down, up, down all the time. Going now for these last 8 Premier League games, how are you feeling about this top 4 push?
Yeah, been up and down more times than a horse draws, as my old nan used to say. But the thing is, right, well, I'm going to answer your question. This could go 2 ways. I'll take my Spurs hat off, right? Realistically, and you ask me, I would say we're going to finish 6th and we're going to lose the cup final, right? That's me without my Spurs hat on. But obviously, I want the difference. And yes, we beat Manchester United next week, and I'm going to be up again, right? But let me just finish the video on a positive, if I may. If you view domestic trophies, as in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup or League Cup, as one and the same, we could still make this our most successful season since 1984. Yeah. Right? When you think about it like that, because when we won the FA Cup in 91, we were well off the pace. We won it in 99, we were well off the pace in the league. We won it in 2008, we didn't get top 4. We've lost cup finals. So the last major trophy you could say that would trump it was 1984. So as bad as we are, and as depressed as we are, we've still got it, and the players have still got it in their capability to have the best season Spurs have ever had, certainly under ENIC's tenure, and since 1984. So let's just go with that and try and be a bit positive. Yeah, because there's no. Let's face it. If you didn't think like that, what good is there? Because that's the reality of it. We still could have the best season we've had. It might be a small chance, but where there's hope, I don't know what the saying is. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's a reality. We could still pull it out of the bag. We could snatch victory from the jaws of defeat rather than the other way around. So yeah, I'm going to go with that, Chris. Top 4, cup final. Come on, you Spurs.
Yeah, I love it. I love your positivity, particularly after today's performance. And as you say, we win next week. We're all going to be on a high again. All be thinking that we're chasing that top 4 spot. Yeah. And it is very, very important for a club like Tottenham Hotspur, particularly with this new stadium and Jose Mourinho and the players that we've got to keep the likes of Harry Kane and Heung-min Son, that we do get Champions League or certainly a Europa League spot. But that cup final in 3 weeks' time, I think, is just such a huge game for the football club, a huge game for Daniel Levy, the club itself, Jose, and the players who we want to keep at the club for next season. So, full hope. Let's all hope and pray that we get that top 4 spot and we get that that League Cup. Of course, the first domestic trophy in 13 years. Craig, Melvyn, and Josh, thank you so much for joining me. I can't believe we've been talking for nearly 2 hours about today's game and about the club. But, I could talk Tottenham Hotspur to you guys for hours on end. So thank you very much for your input. Craig, thank you very much.
Pleasure. Come on, you Spurs.
Melvyn, thank you very much.
No worries. Come on, you Spurs.
And Josh, thank you very much. And I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers. Coys.
Come on, you Spurs.